more perspective on this, and I'm joined in the studio by independent political analyst Vladimir Kozin. Vladimir, thank you very much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
So, a new NATO Secretary General's first visit to Moscow. Are we really seeing relationship between Moscow and NATO improve? Have we been able to put the Cold War legacy behind us?
Improved slightly, but not in full swing improved.
How much
not
improvement
totally.
are we talking about?
Well, to my judgment, 30%, not more. Especially we're still confronted with military confrontation between each other's side. We are still seeing NATO bases moving closer to the Russian national territory. Naval and Air Force activity of NATO is still also looming over our borders. Then ballistic missile defense system will be included, NATO components, much more than the previous George W. Bush plan to field BMDSs in Europe. And NATO enlargement is also a kind of a factor irritating Moscow.
But Anders Rasmussen is assuring that NATO is not a threat to Russia. I mean, obviously politicians in Moscow are pretty skeptical about it, but what should NATO do to actually make Russia believe it's not a threat?
To avoid all these negative factors I listed while responding to your first question, that's very simple. But seemingly NATO is not going to better our relationship, especially in this particular case. And because of these military factors, negative military factors, there is not only a threat from NATO to Russia, but a direct and huge military threat from North Atlantic Treaty Organization towards the Russian Federation.
Well, President Medvedev's proposal on a new European security treaty hasn't been met with much enthusiasm from NATO. Why is that? Does NATO feel threatened? Do they think it's a replacement of NATO?
Unfortunately, it was not very well welcomed amongst NATO VIPs. Seemingly, they have not examined in full swing the draft treaty the Russian Federation shared with the NATO and other foreign dignitaries at the end of last month, at the end of November. It has been widely published and is in the Russian president's internet site. So there is a crystal clear clause that we are equal partners. Nobody can put pressure upon the other side in terms of fixing security, in terms of maintaining security on the European continent and beyond. So, another setback is that I've heard recently that unnamed NATO officials just suggested to debate this draft treaty, not amongst NATO member states, but within the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE. So it's also a part of the problem. It can debate it, but why not NATO? Why not NATO? It's a military organization. OSCE is a political organization. But in terms of security, there will always be a military component. If so, military bloc NATO should tackle our suggestion.
Do you think this new guy can change things, the new Secretary General?
No, I don't think so. There is a negative predicament of Cassandra's type from my part, that there could be a frozen period of our relationship between NATO and Russia in the future as well. If, for example, Ukraine will be admitted to NATO circles as a full-fledged member. So again, we will be just abyss in our relationship. That's why, because Mr. Rasmussen personally advocated the admission of Ukraine and Georgia to NATO.
The prognosis didn't seem that sad at the meeting today, but, well, let's wait and see. Thank you very much for that insight. Vladimir Kozin, independent.